This is a 2-year-old daughter of Kit Kat Sugar out of a smart little Lena mare named Real Smart. She's owned by Cannon Quarter Horses out of Waxahachie, Texas. Michelle Cannon sends me a lot of horses to train. This horse is in training for cutting. And so she'll be here until she gets sold. Working with these young horses, it's just patience. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of love. And you'll get off that horse and you'll bang your head up against that fence. And then the next day, boom, it clicked. They got it. And then the next day, they totally forgot it again. We're gonna stop here. Well, some people say, well, if you can build on it 1% every day, you're doing good, and I disagree with that. If you build your horse 1% better every day, in 100 days, you ought to have a perfect horse. Well, that's not true. I just think if my horse is happy, and my horse did everything I wanted them to do, at the end of the day, then that's growth right there, and it might only be 0.25%. Yeah, good girl. A horse works for its release. So if you're asking them to turn, and then they turn and they give it to you, and then you got to show them where that release is. You got to show them that, okay, I did what you're asking for. You got to show them where their release to come out of that work is. And a horse works for the release. My name is Sean Strickland here in Christoville, Texas, and we have what's called Poison Spider Remuda. We're a horse training company, and the name originally came from Casper, Wyoming, whenever we were ranching up there and we lived on Poison Spider Creek. That's when we started our horse company up there, and then we just transplanted the name down here, and so that's how we get that funny name, Poison Spider Remuda. Remuda meaning like horse herd, like it was a cattle herd or a flock of geese. A herd of horses is called a remuda, so Poison Spider Remuda. I grew up, down here, of course, and grew up on horses. Nothing like what I'm doing now. It was more for pleasure, but the rodeo world kind of called to me, so I did some high school rodeo and rode bulls. And then when I graduated high school, I moved up to Fort Worth and went to work up there, and then continued to rodeo up there, riding bulls, of course, and I got my permit in the PRCA on the bull riding. I do know in 2004, I did enter the San Angelo rodeo and entered the bareback riding, and then I just kind of hung it up. It wasn't in my heart, wasn't my true passion. My true passion was to be a cowboy. And so, and I was green, but I was willing to work, I was willing to learn, willing to listen, and willing to do about anything I could on a ranch. Then when I turned 30, I got kind of serious about, well, what am I gonna do? I can't be just some day working cowboy for the rest of my life. I wanna kind of make something of myself. So I went to TCU through the ranch management program and got a degree in that. And then from there, that was in 2014 or 13 when I graduated from TCU, and I was hired on by Tongue River Ranch. And they hired me to run the New Mexico division. Same thing over here, gonna do it again. Oh, good. Well, the cutting horses, you got a set of cattle. You're about to ride into that set of cattle. They're up against a back fence. And you got a guy over here on a horse, guy over here on a horse. Then you got a guy up here and a guy up here. We have two turnback men that are gonna turn back a cow, and you have your herd helpers over here that are gonna help you get a cow cut out. And you're gonna ride in that herd, and you got 2.5 minutes to cut 2 or 3 cows. And I just need her to relax. Relax, there we go, there we go. You drive that cow out there, when you get your horse set up, you drop your hand. You drop your hand and you don't pick up. And that horse is gonna go run across that pen and stay parallel to that cow. When that cow stops, that horse is gonna stop. When that cow turns, that horse is gonna turn. You're gonna leave your hand down. And after you've made a few moves on that horse, when that cow either stands still or that cow turns away, you're gonna pick your hand up, go back in the herd, and do that 2 more times. So you're gonna try to get 3 cows cut. If you don't get 3, that's fine. You can cut 2 and still win. It's better to cut 3. Once they start kind of figuring out that they're supposed to stop, take that step back, and then come back around. Then we'll take it to the cutting flag, and that simulates a cow. And I can control the speed. It's just a flag that goes back and forth, and it simulates having a cow out there. And I can control the speed, and I can stop that flag with a little controller on my thumb. And then once that horse kind of figures that out, then I'll start bringing a cow in that arena in my cutting pen and start working them on a cow and start teaching them to go stop with that cow. When that cow goes, then you go, then I'm gonna go. And so we essentially just leave it up to the horse, you know, with the direction of our feet. And that's about cutting, I guess, as raw as you can get it. You know, I used to train horses for myself, and I had my amateur status in the NCHA, that's the National Cutting Horse Association. And in 2018, I made the top 15 in the world. So when you start getting into a performance horse type industry, it's money. It's just like anything. You get into high-end things, you get into high-end cars, you get into, just another example, watches, whatever. You can either have the Timex or you can have the Rolex. And when you start getting into the performance horse world, you're starting to get into the Rolex type horses. This is a daughter of Metallic Cat right here out of Tootsie Ray. Tootsie Ray is right at around 900,000 in earnings, producing earnings. And I think she won 298,000, her mama. And her daddy is one of the all-time greatest, Metallic Cat, one of the all-time greatest cutting horse sires there is. We have sons and daughters of Metallic Cat, Rolls Royce, Highbrow Cat, Smart Little Lena in this barn, just to name a few names. And you know, for a top-end horse, a prospect, mind you, a prospect, this horse still has to make it at the end of the day. You're looking at anywhere from $25,000 up to $400,000 and up. You know, I've seen 2-year-old colts at the Futurity sale go for $1 million for a 2-year-old colt. And that colt has done well. That colt has done fantastic this last year. This guy will leave this week, and he'll probably go down the road and go to a bunch of ranches. He'll end up going to the 4.6s, probably the Pitchfork, the Tongue River Ranch. You know, in this barn right here, we have a $300,000 horse. We have 2 horses that are well up in the $250,000, $275,000 range. We just had a horse leave the other day that was a $100,000 horse. So, but you can't think that when you're going into a training type situation. If you just think about the dollars and cents all day, that horse isn't going to get trained because you're just going to be walking around on eggshells. That horse has no idea what it's worth, but the horse knows what it's bred to do, and that's our job, is to teach that horse what it's bred to do with patience and guidance and just smooth teaching. So yes, it is very expensive, and the horse market continues to grow every day. It seems like it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger every day. We built all this facility, 90% of it, in 1 year, my dad and I. There was essentially 2 stalls here and nothing else. And my dad and I built it all in a year. If you think about a man or a woman that makes a living off of the back of a horse, and that's what I do, whether you be a cowboy, a horse trainer, a rodeo hand, whatever it is, making a living off the back of a horse, it is less than 0.25% of the world's population. And that's a high number, 0.25% of the world's population. So whenever you say that this is a slightly dying industry, unfortunately, because of the times, but will it ever die? I don't think so, because there's still going to be that passion of people like myself and hopefully my children. But it's totally changing. It's evolving every day. And but luckily we have some new shows out on TV that have kind of revamped the Western lifestyle It's brought some entertainment value to it. I hope it's still here whenever my kids are grown up and their kids are grown up, but it does change every day, but I'm not gonna change. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing because it's my passion and it's what the Lord blessed me to do.